It would be amazing to have an expensive exotic luxury car in your garage. However, prices are often pretty aggressive. So today I'm going to talk to you about 5 cars that are cheaper substitutes for exotic cars. They're all still quite expensive, but most of them are about half the price of their exotic partners. So let's get straight into it. If you want to see me do this video again at under £20,000 as the substitute cars, then hit the like button, 1,000 likes to make that video. Subscribe as well if you are one of the 77% of people not subscribed to the channel who are watching right now. Let's get straight into it. The Ferrari 458 is the last of the naturally aspirated base supercars for the Ferrari brand, and an absolute pleasure to drive, as I had the chance to launch one around a track a couple of years ago, and it certainly delivered a lovely, more modern Ferrari experience than its predecessors. It handles really predictably, and even with all its power, it feels so usable and agile to throw around a track, a truly enjoyable Ferrari to drive. Even better, it looks stunning and will turn heads in a way many cheaper Ferraris won't, although that being said, it's already one of the better value modern Ferraris you can get into. They start at around the £100,000 mark, yet for less than half that you'll get yourself into an Alfa Romeo 4C, which starts at around £37,000 and typically is available from around £40,000 from 2017-ish. Now the 4C isn't going to have the road presence of a Ferrari, but of the many cars I have driven out on the roads, I have never turned more heads, had more conversations in car parks, and received as many compliments as when I was driving a 4C around for about 4 months last year. Despite its lack of the prancing horse badge, it definitely gives you a somewhat similar feeling of exoticness out on the roads, at least from my perspective as someone who's driven both. One major difference though is the engine. The 458 came with a 4.5 litre V8 putting out 562 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.3 seconds, where the Alfa gets a much smaller 1.75 litre turbocharged inline 4, which makes 236 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.4 seconds. The main thing the Alfa has over the Ferrari though is its weight, thanks to that full carbon fibre tub like an F1 car, meaning it weighs around the 900 kg mark, versus the 458's 1,500 kgs. The Alfa 4C is absolutely a car I want to own in the next few years, which you'll know if you watch the channel regularly. My problem is that it's made such an impact on me that it'll never be an investment. Once my money's gone on a 4C, it's gone forever. One of the kings of the car world of the past couple of years, with more presence than most things that have left any automotive factories this side of 2020, has to be the Porsche 911 992 GT3 RS. This thing is genuinely a race car for the roads, running a lap time of 6 minutes 44 seconds around the Nürburgring, about 15 seconds slower than the Project 1, which recently took the lap record, but that's not bad at all for a naturally aspirated car that costs a tenth of the price. That truly is the proof there are levels to this game though, as though you can get a GT3 RS starting at around £250,000 right now. You could also get yourself a 718 Cayman GT4 for around 63k at the bottom end, with many available for under 70k. Now the Cayman GT4 isn't quite as quick around the ring, 7 minutes 32 seconds in fact, but considering how much cheaper it is, that's pretty insane still. And the benefit of going for a 718 over a 981 really is if you're a fan of Porsche's PDK gearbox, which you could get on these, plus they get a few more modern spec options and lost a bit of the understeer the 981 was known for. They aren't too dissimilar to the GT3 RS on powertrain too, as the 992 gets a 4 litre flat 6, putting out 517 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.1 seconds, making it the fastest car we'll talk about today, and the GT4 also gets a 4 litre flat 6, making 414 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Of course, that isn't as aggressive as the GT4 RS, which would be even close to the GT3 RS, but outside of rarity and the extra bit of performance, it's hard to truly explain why you would spend the additional 70k to get into one, especially with the recent depreciation on them, as they've dropped by around 100 grand in a year. That being said, if I had the money, of course, I'd have a GT4 RS over the GT4. But as a comparison to the GT3 RS in this video, it remains a lovely Porsche GT package with a big spoiler, big air vent, and big presence, so it looks like great value up against the RS. The Lamborghini Urus wasn't the brand's first 4x4, but it was the first of the modern era and the first specifically focused on road use, as opposed to off-roading or military use like the LM002. As you probably know, most Lamborghinis are named after famous fighting bulls, but in the Urus's case, it's named after the ancient ancestor to domestic cattle that we see out on fields today. Interesting decision, but those old cows were horned at least. It's designed with similar looks the flagship Aventador, just bigger and more SUV-like, and to be honest, though I'm really not a major fan, I do like that they're so in your face, as Lamborghini should be. They'll also do 194 miles per hour, so these are the fastest production SUVs in the world, which is another thing you might expect from a Lamborghini, so I can't rag on its larger proportions too much, and they're decently lightweight for a luxury SUV at around 2,200 kilograms. However, being a Lamborghini, they are quite expensive, with used models starting around £145,000 today, whereas the Audi RSQ8 starts at around £67,000, with many available for under £73,000 from around 2020. And even better, they share the same basic platform and powertrain. The Urus gets a 4-litre twin turbocharged V8, making 640 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.5 seconds, while the RSQ8 also gets a 4-litre twin turbocharged V8, making 591 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 3.7 seconds, just 0.2 seconds slower than the Urus. It doesn't quite have the road presence of a Urus, but outside of that, the package really isn't that different. It's a bit heavier at a hair over 2,300 kilograms, but the coupe SUV styling, the aggressive angular design language, the race-inspired interior, and all the rest really makes this the poor man's Urus. And with the Urus depreciating pretty rapidly now, the RSQ8 is probably likely to lose you less money, be cheaper on insurance, and fly a little more under the radar while still offering insane performance. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video, and I wanted to talk to you guys about how I have ordered these cars. A long time ago, I made a formula for comparing cars as substitutes for expensive ones. I'll link the video in the description. I made that video more than 6 years ago now, and I'm using that same formula to order these cars from 5th to 1st. So if you like that kind of consistency, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. Let's get straight back into the video. In the world of cars, it doesn't get much more luxury than Rolls-Royce. Outside of Maybach and a few other specialist luxury brands, they pretty much run the show. And with this in mind, the vast majority of Rolls-Royces exist for you to be driven around in rather than to drive. That doesn't, however, include this, the RollsRoyce Wraith, which is already significantly cheaper to buy second hand than it was brand new, as a properly wafty, personalized luxury cruiser that will make you look rich almost wherever you are in the world. It's not insanely quick, but it is comfortable, made to ensure the people inside are able to be in the top level of luxury regardless of whether you're city driving, grand touring, motorway cruising, or whatever. It also comes with amazing details like the optional Starlight headliner and the door card umbrellas from the backwards opening doors. New, these were serious money, but now you can find them starting anywhere from around £90,000, which is actually already not that bad for the quality you're getting. However, the S65 AMG Coupe comes in at around the 60k mark on the bottom end, with most available for around 65k from 2015-ish. The S65 isn't anywhere near as luxurious as the Wraith, but it absolutely is a lovely luxury cruiser which is just a bit more performance focused. This is shown by the stats. The Wraith has a 6.6 litre twin turbocharged V12 which makes 624 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.5 seconds, whereas the S65 has a 6 litre twin turbocharged V12 block making 621 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4 seconds, so they're super close, but the Mercedes edges it. It only came in rear wheel drive too, and though yes, there are more luxurious Maybach examples, this is a pretty good car within our price range, especially given it's so rare, with just 32 of them currently registered on the roads in the UK. You could actually save a bit of cash and go for an S500 or S550 and get a bit more luxury and less performance, but you also lose a bit of the head turning capability of an aggressive V12 AMG luxury Grand Tourer. Taking the top spot in this video is a substitute for the Aston Martin DBX. That DBX has depreciated at a ridiculously fast rate since its release, so one day a used one will probably be a fair substitute for something like a Urus, to be honest, but they still come in at around the 85k mark these days bottom end. That's for a car that retains the traditional Aston Martin shape, just beefed up into an SUV format. To try and hide how big they are, Aston Martin pushed the wheels to the absolute extremities, which helps them to look a bit lower, but all in, these are massive cars, saved by some good weight saving to only sit at around 45 kilograms more than the Urus. They're still luxury focused though, all in, with some nice materials used on the inside and a lovely upscaled sporty but expensive looking interior overall. However, coming in at almost half the price is this, the Bentley Bentayga, which starts at around £48,000, with many being available for under the 53k mark. The Bentley is probably the more luxurious overall package, and it's also more performant. The DBX is a 4 litre twin turbocharged V8 block making 542 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.3 seconds, whereas the Bentayga has a 6 litre twin turbocharged W12, putting up 599 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4 seconds, slightly quicker. It definitely has a greater focus on opulence, trying to be a cheap Cullinan more than a cheap DBX, and it actually shares its platform with the Urus we mentioned earlier, so it could even be a substitute for that. In a dream world, you'd be looking for one with more Mulliner features to get some proper luxury bits like the Breitling tourbillon clock in the dashboard, and some amazing leather options on the interior, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if these turn just as many heads as a DBX in the right spec. So there you have it, 5 substitutes for expensive exotic cars. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. Huge thanks to patrons for their support. You guys are all for watching, and click on screen to watch another bunch of supercars within this price range.